About a year ago, I made a terrarium. I didn't think it was anything special until I noticed one mistake that turned a rather ordinary habitat into a simulation of an impending apocalypse stored right next to my bed. So grab a coke and some insulin cause it's time to dig in. For a long time, I've been a fan of those 100 days videos with terrariums big enough for an adult person to bathe in. But instead of watching some dirty homeless bum, those people put some exotic plants and lizards into them. And that's exactly what I wanted to do, but a bit more wallet friendly. So the first thing that I bought was this very nice and clear glass box for $15, which was an actual steal, because other things of similar proportions can go for a much higher price. What can I say? Sometimes you gotta get in that Sherlock mindset, pick up a looking glass and do a lot of searching and hard work to find a very good looking glass. Anyways, after finding a nice box comes the hardest part, because now you have to decide what you want to have in your terrarium. I decided for something swampy, like everyone in those 100 days challenge videos, but I lacked a lot of inspiration. So I went to the best place for making new ideas, the toilet, where I sat down and started watching the 100 days videos. In one of them, a guy put a fox skeleton in a terrarium, and right away I knew I was going to do something similar. So I scoured the internet to see what skeletons I could buy, when I came across a very unusual one. These bones weren't from a dragon or some fucked up lizard that died in the Permian extinction, but from an ordinary mink. Of course, I chose this skeleton, and after a few months, a package arrived filled with small bags of mixed bones. Pro tip: if you ever assemble an animal skeleton, don't forget to film the whole thing and get it onto YouTube. Otherwise, you'll end up like me and your only documentation of the entire process will be this. Anyways, I assembled the skeleton, but before I put it in its glass tomb, I had to add the substrate. All successful substrates are made very simply. You mix soil and a variety of dead things together and bang! You got yourself some delicious road feed. Now, I often add ash to increase the alkaline of the soil, because the ground around my house has a PhD in acidity, but I accidentally mixed up the amounts and added way more ash than I should, about 400% more. Once everything was assembled, I added plants and isopods and left it at that. However, like with mercury poisoning, the first week was fine, but then the problems began. The ash, which was supposed to be my elixir of immortality, poisoned the soil to the point that the plants started dying and they themselves became food for something freaking gross. Mold. While everything started dying, it was happening in a very neat way, so I didn't throw anything out and did something else instead. I knew the main problem was humidity, so I built a DIY AC and used it as a makeshift cover. It did its job well, but it also cut off most of the sunlight and made the air smell like old peas. I took a while standing there looking at these conditions when the whole thing reminded me of something. If you didn't know, there's a giant supervolcano under the Yellowstone National Park in America. A lot can be talked about, but what's important for us is that when this thing goes off, tons of ash will be hurled into the atmosphere. After just few hours or weeks, the larger particles will fall down on the USA like sand in a reverse Christmas snow globe, and holy shit, will there be a lot of it. Now, it's hard to determine how much ash would exactly travel the globe and where it would cover most of the soil, but there's about 1 big centimeter of ash in my substrate, so we don't need exactly a lot to suffocate the plants. What's more is that a lot of gases will be released too, one of them being sulfur dioxide, which fucking hates sunlight, reflecting it back into space, separating us from light and heat brought by solar radiation. What I want to say is that I've accidentally created a very similar climate in my terrarium. But anyways, after mold was gone, all that was left were clumps of poisoned moss, dead wood and isopods. Many isopods use this opportunity to not stay on the ground, and they often venture to this tree branch that helped me see their health and numbers a lot more easily than not seeing them at all. You would also think that all of these events will decimate the population, but the exact opposite happened. With minimum water and wood, these buggers managed so well that I needed some predators to balance things out. By this time, I had made another terrarium with vampire crabs, so from time to time, I snatched up a good handful of isopods and gave them to the crabs. But that didn't work as well as I hoped, so I added one animal that changed everything. A little centipede. And just after 2 weeks, the roly-polies completely vanished. The centipede went soon after, and the habitat deserted itself of life once again, but not for long. When I was a kid, I got really scared about the Yellowstone volcano and how it will destroy many lives, human or not, we will explode it. But after seeing with my own eyes the isopods thrive in such a cruel environment, even for a while, I am now certain that life will find its way, as it usually does. In those 100 days videos. Anyways, that was my terrarium. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.